I love Magog, I love the region. There's so much to do. If I don't do it as mayor, I'll do it another way.
Right.
Definitely. Yeah, and we have so many projects. I don't have enough of one life to.
Well, from a personal perspective, I can say that as a mayor, you always seem to be everywhere. And here we go into question 2. As a mayor, you are a woman who's competing and working in what has traditionally been a male occupation. And it's only really since the late 70s that women have been accepted totally in this realm. Can you tell us a little bit about what it's like as a woman to be competing in what used to be a male world and how that's changing?
Well, it is still pretty much a male's world. It's an old boys club often.
James Brown called it a man's world. It's a man's world.
Exactly, exactly.
But nonetheless, how do you deal with that?
I'd say if I compare it to maybe my first election in 1999, where I did have some funny response sometimes, like you're a woman, you're too young, you have children, what are you doing there? I don't feel that anymore.
Good.
And I feel like for my colleagues at the provincial level, I work with, I'm on a committee, there's 27 mayors, I'm the only
right.
woman, I'm the only woman. There's 26
really?
Men with me on that committee. But I feel like I'm one of the gang. You know, I don't feel any problem there. So mostly I think it is accepted, but the problem is there's still only 17% of us.
Right.
Female mayors.
But in the world, there's 50% of us.
Exactly. So you got to get these women involved, and younger too.
What would you say to a young girl to get involved with politics? What advice would you give to her?
Oh, that's a conference of about an hour and a half.
That's okay. We're community radio.
We have time.
Imagine, I know I'm a handsome man, but imagine I'm a young girl. Tell me what you would advise me to do if I wanted to be involved in a political world.
Well, first thing I would say is there are groups out there that can help. I followed a different training that women groups give. I'd say go.
Right.
Go and get this training. It's free. It's out there. And if you can have a mentor, get a mentor. That's really handy. But most of all, trust yourself. And you don't have to know everything. Just, you'll learn as you go along. Men do that a lot. One of my first meetings at the MRC in 1998, I believe, I was the community representative. I wasn't elected then. I arrived at the meeting with my documents, you know, paged and noted and all my questions, and I was ready, and I put like 4 to 5 hours to prepare the meeting. I sit down in the meeting and I see some of these men opening their envelopes in front of me, and they're voting on the same issues and they have an opinion, and they didn't even read the documents. So, my message here is, you don't have to know everything, and you can learn it on the way, and if you don't have the answer, it's okay, you know. And we need more women out there, because if we want decisions to be close to our needs, family needs, women's needs, young people needs, we have to have these people on board.
Well, then I'm going to now pull a question that we asked Officer Tier in an earlier interview. Do you think that we could put something together at City Hall so that young women could mentor along with counselors and yourself, where they could actually come in and have, not as a credit, but as a part of their life, even if it's something like filing papers or cleaning up a drawer? Do you think that there's room within the city of Magog to create these type of positions? I call them interns.
Well, yeah, there could be training or things like that, but not for the political issue, because that the city wouldn't want to handle that, you know. They
right.
Don't. But there are groups out there that do handle that, and I already mentored 2 women.
Okay, good.
I've been doing that for years.
Okay.
So if there are programs out there, just ask. You know.
Okay, where would they ask?
There's Action Interculturelle, the Women's Center, the group called Hamm et Gouvernance. They all have programs where you can, you know, just fill in your profile, see what type, you know.
They're really volunteer positions,
yeah.
but they put you in instances where you can learn probably things that you would not learn if you weren't taking those intern positions.
Exactly. I had 2 young women with me last year for the whole year, yeah.
Good.
I'm open.
Question 3. You're doing very well, by the way, Vicki.
Thank you.
I'm giving you a double A+.
Oh, yeah, totally.
Keep it up. You're going to get a 5 stars on your toothbrush. Question 3. I wrote this a couple of weeks ago, so I'm just remembering it myself. The American president, Harry S. Truman, is remembered for the phrase, "the buck stops here." Because you are prominently featured in the mainstream media as the most visible physical representation of the municipality, whenever there is a problem, it ends up on your desk. How does this affect you personally?
It's very demanding, but, and at first I have to tell you this, because when I was first elected, anywhere I meet someone on the street or anything and they'd have something to ask, I'd take a paper and note it down and make sure, and after a while I said, whoa, this is crazy. If you have a request, there are official ways to do it. Please go through, Facebook is not the best way to reach me. I mean, I have almost 5,000 friends.
Right.
And so many different comments, and then sometimes people say, well, I asked a question to you on Facebook, you didn't answer it. Well, I'm sorry, but I get like 500 different notices a day.
And while you're on Facebook, I remember a note that you were recently hacked.
Yes, I was.
So was I. I was on your account.
Yeah.
How did you rectify that?
Notified Facebook. We notified Facebook. It's the second time it happens to me, so that happens. So
no, but that must be very annoying. Because to a kid or whoever's doing, let's call it a prank, rather than a piece of terrorism, which in the US, that is what happens when you're a politician and you hack them. Here in Canada, we're a little bit more cool. But my point is, what an imposition that must have been for you, and it's also a betrayal of trust, is it not?
Yes, and it's a little bit frightening. I was leaving for vacation when this happened, and I figured if I don't solve this before I come back, then I'll have this person saying things in my name.
Yes.
So Facebook was really fast in solving that.
Right.
Because it was evident, It was.
Right.
It could have took them some time, but they were very fast. So the way I deal with all these demands is I tell them to go through the official file, And it's a pleasure for me to meet with anyone if they need to, but please don't ask for me by Facebook or LinkedIn or on the street, because I might forget, And I do have a very, very heavy agenda. So.
Sure. As you said, you were also not only Mayor of Magog, but you're on a number of political committees for the provincial government, et cetera, et cetera. So you really can't have people misrepresenting you, and we would like to take a moment to remind all the teenage kid hackers, that's a federal offense, kids. So when you do that, this time you may have gotten away with it, but sooner or later, it's not a way to get hired by IBM, it's a way of getting arrested. So don't do that. And especially don't hack me, because you'll bring out my inner gangster. He's long ago been retired. Okay. How do you prefer to be approached when you're in a public setting? For example, vendage, beer festival, people see you everywhere.
Exactly.
What is the best way, if I wish to speak to you in a public manner that's not going to annoy you?
Well, actually, when I'm in public like that, I hope nobody is shy to come up to me and say hello and say, oh, you're doing a great job, or not.
Right.
That's okay. But if you have a request,
right,
that's not the right place. So then I will politely say, please send me an email or call my office and make an appointment. But otherwise, I'm really happy when people stop me on the street and say, oh, you know what they did at that park, it's interesting, but you should, add this or that, no problem. But for any demand that I have to follow up on, please go through the official file, because I'll drop some somewhere. There's too many requests out there.
And by the way, I can tell you this, and we just really met today. I've met you a couple of times. Once for a minute, took your shot for a minute when I was doing the story. But more than one person has come to me at Studio de Tisserand and mentioned that they met you and how easy it was to talk to you and how thrilled they were to meet you.
Well, I'm glad to hear that.
Congratulations,
Well,
you're doing a good job
I'm glad to hear that.
on on that front. So that's question 3 all done. Question 4. What do you consider your most important accomplishments as mayor of Magog? Could you give us, say, a top 3 of things you're really proud of you did?
Yeah, I'm really proud of how we turned around the economic development of Magog. Because when I was elected, we had lost something like 4,000 jobs in the industrial park, and it wasn't going well at all. We had to turn this around, create new jobs, and find a way to diversify our economy. So I think that's what I'm most proud of. It took more time than I would have wanted. I started collecting only in the 2nd term, but I'm really proud of what we've done there.
Do you have a figure of how many jobs you may have added?
In all, no, because the way they hold the statistics, I can't figure it out.
Right.
But I know that just in ITs, for example, there were no jobs in ITs when we started. We have about 50 businesses and 300 employees in ITs. And what's interesting with ITs is that we also attract a younger generation, because Magog is a wonderful place to retire.
Sure.
I do not have to buy any publicity in any specialized magazine for people that want to retire. They will come to Magog. But to keep the younger generation here, the workforce here, we had to do something. And I think the ITs are making a really big difference, and the salaries are pretty good. So I guess that's what I'm most proud of.
What is an IT?
Anything that touches technology.
Okay. That's a definition
Yeah.
of a technology-based business.
Exactly.
Thank you.
Yeah, yeah. And then I would say
Number 2?
Number 2, what I'm most proud of is the way we're managing the city right now is way different than what it was. It's much more open to the citizens, much more consultations, public consultations. We did a strategic planification. We worked with the community. So that's way different, and that's important to me too. It's not closed up only behind some doors and 10 to 11 people are making all the decisions. We're doing it with the
So you feel that you've brought the governance of the city into the 21st century in an efficient way?
Definitely.